So, you are passionate about singing, but every time you try to let go and sing freely, something might be holding you back. Maybe it's fear, self-doubt, or trying to sound perfect. In this episode, you will discover how passionate singers actually sing freely and get to a place of vocal freedom so that you can unlock your vocal confidence and express yourself fully. Let's dive into it. Hi, my name is Maggie. I'm the founder of the Singing Insiders, in which I help passionate singers just like yourself develop themselves through singing and getting to that best versions of themselves. And in these episodes, you're going to get exercises, insights, ahas, tools and techniques all around singing to really help you up-level your singing skills. Now, before we dive into the 3-step process to get to that place of vocal freedom, which is what I like to describe as that feeling that you get when you can express yourself freely from a vocal standpoint. Your voice does what you want it to do. You feel confident doing it, and you're doing that in your own unique and authentic way. That is vocal freedom. Some mistakes that many beginner singers tend to make on the path to vocal freedom is, number one, overthinking every single note. Many beginner singers, they focus so much on hitting that perfection of every single note, when really it's not about perfection, it's about authenticity and about feeling. We all are drawn to music because it makes us feel a certain way. And when we're singing, we should have some types of feelings as well to connect with our listener and our audience. A second mistake that I see many beginner singers make is to hold on and tense up. What I mean by that is oftentimes, for example, when singing high notes, for many of us, it's when we're in the higher parts of our range, we tend to squeeze it all out or hold on to that note so that it doesn't jump away and end up on a different pitch. Instead, it's by letting go and letting our breath flow freely that we can actually have a more accurate pitch and a more free sound. And that's what trained singers know and do. The third mistake that I see many beginner singers make is to avoid emotion because they might be scared for their sound to change to something that they don't want. It's this whole conversation that we can have about, can I cry when I'm singing? Or what if I cry when I'm singing? If I'm tapping into that sadness within that song, well, oh boy, what happens if I end up crying? That's okay. The trained singer knows that emotion is part of the process. And it's those emotional imperfections that make a song perfect. I hope that makes sense. So those are 3 very common mistakes that I see many beginner singers make. And once you might notice yourself doing them, that's actually a good thing, because then you get to choose to do something else. So let's look at this 3-step process that you can go through in order to get to that place of vocal freedom. And vocal freedom, again, is the freedom to be able to sing anything you want. So having the voice that you love. It sounds how you want it. It feels how you want it. But also do that with confidence. So you're feeling good about yourself. You love your voice. You trust your voice. You trust that it will do exactly what you want it to do. You trust yourself as well. And you get to do that in your own unique and authentic way, which is all about your creative, unique expression. So step 1 is, first of all, to build up your vocal technique backpack. So imagine your whole vocal development as a backpack. Imagine that we're gonna climb a mountain, and in that backpack we're gonna put some tools in. Maybe a bottle of water, some ropes in case we need to climb, right? So we're putting all those tools in. Same thing with singing. We're putting techniques into our backpack. Maybe that's breath support. Maybe that's mixed voice. Maybe that's twang, cry, vocal fry, all those things, right? All those techniques that will help us climb the mountain. Or, in our metaphor here, that would be sing freely. Because in order to sing anything you want, high notes, low notes, all the notes in between, we need to have access to the right vocal techniques. And, very important, having those vocal techniques in your backpack is one thing. Being able to apply them is one thing. The second part of this is that these vocal techniques need to be absorbed into your muscle memory, so that when you're singing in public, whether that's on stage, at a karaoke party with friends, whatever it might be, at home in your shower while someone else is home, when you're singing in public, those vocal techniques should come automatically because they're absorbed into your muscle memory. So you don't have to be thinking about your diaphragmatic breath. You don't have to be thinking about activating your mixed voice. It comes automatically. Okay? That's the first step. Filling up the backpack with vocal techniques and getting those vocal techniques into your muscle memory. Then the second step is to add other types of techniques to that backpack. So we put in techniques to help us sing how we want to sing. Sing in a healthy way, sing with, a certain note, a high note. This is vocal techniques. The second step is what I like to call the creative techniques. So that's a different part of technique that we need to put into our backpack. And why are they so important? The creative techniques, they include things like improvisation, vocal variation, all of those things. Why are they important? Because they are your parachute. Let me talk to you about the parachute. When you're singing in public, and maybe you're feeling a little bit nervous about forgetting your lyrics, for example. When you feel comfortable improvising, which is one of the creative techniques that you learn, then there's no need to be scared about forgetting your lyrics. Why? Because improvising is all about being able to sing whatever on the spot, in the right pitch, in the right rhythm. Improvising is making it up on the spot, singing something on the spot, and it fits the music. That's, in broad terms, what improvising is. So when you can do that effectively, and you can improvise and you're feeling confident doing that, why would you even worry about forgetting your lyrics? Because if you do forget your lyrics, or if you do forget where the melody is going, well, you can always go back to just improvising your way through the song. This is you opening up your parachute. Does that make sense? So these creative techniques, and improvising is just one. There's many more that we can cover. These creative techniques are there to support you whenever you're in that situation of, what can I do? So those are your parachutes, okay? So in our backpack, we had our vocal techniques. That was step 1. We have our creative techniques, which is all about step 2. And then we have a last step, step number 3. Now, before we go on to step number 3, if you found a lot of value in this episode so far, my invitation is to hit that subscribe button so that you're being updated on when new episodes just like this one come out each week, so that you're getting updated on that. Now let's move on, because one of the most important steps is still coming up, which is the third step in the process. And that is a process of learning to trust your voice and yourself. Trusting your voice and yourself is such an important part of the process. You can have all the vocal techniques and being able to use your voice how you want it. And you can have all the creative techniques, being able to express yourself, but still you might be struggling with insecurities when singing in public. So oftentimes, many singers, they think that singing in public is something that they just have to do more often and then the nerves will disappear. oftentimes that creates the opposite effect, because the more you do it and the more you feel that performance anxiety or that fear or those nerves, the more the next time you have those bad experiences or memories that you're taking with you the next time around. And that's how we get into a vicious cycle. So what's the solution here? The solution here is twofold. Regulating our nervous system and then rewiring how we think, our limiting beliefs, our brain, you could say. Because what happens in this is what I like to call the trust pillar. What happens in this phase? Our brain sees singing in public as a threat. This is dangerous. So it will communicate to my body, please prepare for this dangerous situation. And it's gonna pump more blood to my legs so that I can run away. It will heighten my cortisol levels so that I feel the stress, so that I can fight. So this is where reactions like fight, flight, and freeze start coming up. So my brain sees singing in public as a threat. It communicates to my body, you need to prepare. And that's where we experience performance anxiety. So step number 1 is to use the body to communicate to the brain that we're safe. Singing in public is not a threat. My life is not in danger. This is safe. How do we do that? By regulating our nervous system. And you can do that through breath work, meditation, visualization. There's so many things we can dive into. So regulating our nervous system so that we communicate to our brain that this specific situation, in our example, that's singing in public, is safe. The second part to this is to tell our brain next time around that singing in public is not a threat. It doesn't have to see this as a threat. And that's where we can dive deep into the core belief work. This is a whole different conversation that we can have, because we have, as humans, beliefs about certain things. And if you as a child have been laughed at when you were presenting something in class, for example, your brain made an interpretation that doing something in public is dangerous because you got laughed at in the past. And so the more you go through life, the more experiences you start to gather, and that creates some type of belief. And maybe that belief is singing in public is dangerous. And that's where the brain now sees that as a threat and puts the body in action. So it's twofold. We need to look at where this is coming from, and we need to train our body to regulate ourselves and to tell our brain that we're okay. That is the last piece of the puzzle. So to recap, we have our backpack. We're putting in vocal techniques so that we can sing freely and use our voices how we wanted to use them. Then we have our creative techniques. Those are the parachutes that we can use so that we can express ourselves in an authentic way. And then we have this trust side of things where we learn to regulate our nervous system and where we tell the brain that singing in public is a safe thing to do. It's even fun. Those three pieces together will get you to a place of vocal freedom. So hopefully you see that your singing and vocal development is more than just training the voice. It is part of it, and it's so important. Yes, we cannot disregard the two other parts, which is the creative side and that inner work, the trust side of things. So you need to have a holistic approach to your vocal training. That is oftentimes the missing piece. And this is what I like to call our vocal freedom method. Now, I invite you to go watch the next episode that I linked in the description here down below, because that episode will actually take this vocal freedom method concept even further. And that is where the juice is. So let's keep this conversation going in that next episode. Click the link below to go over there, and I'll see you there. Thank you for joining me today. Bye.